In this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks podcast, we have friends from Intel and MSI here to talk Tiger Lake laptops that roar. Next. Welcome back to yet another episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks podcast. I'm Dave Altavilla. With me, as always, is Marco Chiappetta and Chris Getting behind the dials. But more importantly, we have two great guys from a couple of companies we work with pretty closely. We have Fredrik Hamberger from Intel. He is Intel's general manager of premium and enthusiast laptop platforms. And we have Derek Chen from MSI, global sales and marketing director. Objective today is to talk about the Intel mobile platform and Intel's collaboration with MSI and putting together some pretty great laptops. But first, before we go around and introduce these guys, Marco, how you doing? What's going on? We catching our breath?
Yeah, doing pretty good. I'm feeling a little scruffy. The wife wants me to grow this beard. It's a little itchy. I don't know how you guys live through this phase of beard growth, but we're giving it a shot.
I shaved today for our guests because they're important fellas. Fredrik and Derek, welcome. Good to have you with us. How's it going? Yeah. Where are you based? Let's start with that. Where are you located right now?
Hi, I'm Derek, and thank you for having us today. And actually, I'm located in Taiwan. It's super early right now. It's 6:30 in AM. So, but we are full of energy and ready to go for it.
Awesome. Boy, thanks for joining us so early. That's way before coffee time for me. Fredrik, you're in a time zone that's a little bit more friendly, maybe, huh?
Yeah, so I'm based in Santa Clara. So, and again, thank you so much for having us. And Derek, great to see you. Like we said, both we had some exciting stuff that you just put up your review on, as well as a lot of new stuff that we announced at CES. So very exciting time in the PC industry.
Yeah. We were talking, as we were ramping up into Q4 and getting ready for CES and all of the new releases that have been, flowing out. It is a good time to be in the PC industry and in technology in general. And certainly Intel and MSI are firing out some pretty impressive, compelling products, which we'll get to. But let's talk a little bit about where you guys are from and what you do. Why don't we start with Derek? Why don't we start with you, Derek, and tell us, your role at MSI and I guess, what you're charged with at the good ship MSI.
Okay, so as you know, we are in Taiwan, so we're a Taiwanese company, but we are doing global business. And for laptops, actually, I'm in charge of laptop sales and marketing. And we started MSI for gaming laptop for 10 years. And after it's 10 years, we have leading position in the gaming field. And now we are ready for a new topic. We are getting into business and the productivity lineup. So this is the reason I'm here today to talk about our new lineup.
Sounds good. Yeah, we have an interesting subject that we'll get to in a little bit, the MSI Prestige 14 EVO or Evo. I'm not sure how we'd say that, actually. Evo. Okay, good. I got it right. Great machine. We'll get to that. Fredrik, why don't you tell us your name, rank, and serial number within Intel?
Absolutely. So Fredrik Hamberger, I'm general manager for our Enthusiast laptop segment, as well as a lot of our custom co-engineering initiatives with key partners like MSI. So what that means is, in general, we drive the partner, the roadmap requirements for sort of our H-series swim lane that you see in most high-end enthusiast systems, both on gaming, content creation, mobile workstations, and those highest performance systems. My team also is responsible for our high touch initiatives, which is where we spend more time with OEMs and ecosystems on how do we build better systems for end users together, all the way from doing research on what is it that customers want, what are their key pain points, and then working with our very large customer engineering organization together with OEMs on how do we fine tune and deliver better products for end users together.
And you've got just a few new technologies these days in the form of Tiger Lake and all the various power envelopes afforded by that technology. Good stuff. We'll certainly dig in there. thanks for joining us, fellas. It's great to be able to talk some tech with some guys that are helping to make it happen. Marco, how do we want to handle this here? You want to dive into the MSI Prestige 14 review we just put up, or how do we want to go from here?
Yeah, let's start talking about the Prestige. Before we do, though, we have a comment from Francois Pierre Noel saying hello to Frederick, saying he remembers when he joined Intel as a young engineer. Francois here for you, Frederick.
Always great to hear him.
Yeah. He tends to lurk in the chats for us and does add some color commentary. It's good to have him with us. Good to see you, Francois, as always.
Yeah, so I don't know who to direct the question to, but we'll just start out. So today, if you stop by HotHardware.com, we published a review of the MSI Prestige 14 Evo. Now, this was the first 28-watt implementation of Tiger Lake that we took a look at on the site. And if you check out the benchmarks and you check out the teardown, check out all the numbers, you'll see that this was arguably the fastest notebook we've tested in terms of single-thread performance from the CPU. The integrated Iris Xe graphics just rocked versus any other integrated solution, and even beat a couple of discrete solutions in a few tests. And overall, just excellent performance across the board, and battery life that it didn't really sacrifice any battery life. The machine landed, towards the upper quadrant in our stack, but with performance that dominated some of the machines that offered lower battery life than this particular machine. Something that we noticed, we were lucky enough to take a look at an early development vehicle for Tiger Lake, and we noticed some similarities between that machine and this. So I don't know if I should direct this to Derek or Frederick. How closely did MSI and Intel work on this particular machine? Because it seems like you guys were sort of going hand in hand based on our experience.
Yeah, so maybe Derek, if you don't mind, I can kick off a little bit. Again,
no, I don't
with
mind.
our
Go ahead.
With our 11th gen that we launched back in September, as you mentioned, so it's had fantastic sort of pickup. One of our fastest ramps ever on a new silicon, and performance improvements. You hit it spot on. It's both sort of CPU performance. The GPU, our biggest integrated graphics ever, sort of enabling that what used to be only possible in Enthusiast sort of discrete graphic systems in the past, enabling that type of experience in these systems. But the other thing, like especially as you mentioned Evo, so with Evo, we've moved a lot of our focus to be that sort of how do we deliver better end user experiences? And with that sort of when it comes to battery life, form factors, responsiveness, those type of things, we got very system focused. And we've had reference systems in the past where we've done a ton of work internally, like if, way back when we used to do like wireless charging. So we did a lot of that type of work. But we also realized that, hey, in order to sort of, make sure that we can test, tune those type of things, partnering with OEMs like MSI was super critical. And that's why, like, again, I have the system right here that you mentioned, that, reference system that, MSI was very gracious and partnered with us and enabling us. Let's put all this stuff into a, close to production system, so that we can tune experiences like cameras, the battery life and performance, and making sure that we can actually see all the stuff that you can get in sort of, that what we call an RVP, a reference board. How does that actually show up when you put it into a thermally constrained system, and partnering with, a very fast, OEM like MSI. So we did a lot of work early on. If it gets to sort of, early samples, we had workshops with our engineering team and MSI engineering team going through bugs and all those type of things, to make sure that we're from the start doing that. And then we got plenty of these sample units that went into our software enabling organization as well as our internal testing organizations to do a lot of that sort of hands-on tuning on a real functional system where you can experience sort of what an end user will experience to sort of get ready for that launch together. But also in parallel, of course, working closely with MSI and Derek and team on how do we build the Prestige 14 as the fantastic high performing product to be shipping. So Derek, I'll hand over to you to talk more about the Prestige.
Yeah, actually, I also have one sample right here.
So you guys is all around.
So I would say that it was quite exciting and a challenging task. And I remember that we kick off December or January last year, actually 1 year ago. And usually when we develop one new model, it required like 12 months. But Intel guys, they were so demanding and they give us very high bar and in terms of standard and in terms of schedule. So finally we made it like 8 to 9 months to finish this project and to meet performance requirement and also meet time to market. And of course, there were lots of challenging, and we're very happy that Intel could support us on this. And no matter in engineering or no matter sales and marketing part, we work very closely and hand in hand to make sure we deliver very high quality product to the market. Yeah, and I think Intel gave us lots of support on this. Yeah, we very appreciate Intel.
Yeah, no, it's a solid machine for sure. We dug into it deep, and it's funny actually. The model branding threw me a little bit. I wasn't sure if it was the way Intel said Evo in the laptop model name, but it is. It's just capitalized for MSI, which is good. So that's why I was tripped up earlier on. But yeah, what we took away with this is, the performance we got from this machine. Whether you look at, for example, the storage subsystem where it's PCI Express 4 attached, you're getting north of 5 gigs per second reads, 2.5 gigs per second writes roughly. That's unheard of in a laptop, with NVMe drives, Gen 3 NVMe drives, typically performing, around the 3 gig max range. So right away, we were seeing the benefits of the Tiger Lake platform and Intel Evo initiatives in this machine. And then, when you think about how well it's configured, how robust the performance is, it's the top of every chart we had. For the price point was actually really nice as well. It's just north of $1,000, right, Marco? Make sure if I have that right.
I think it was 1149-ish, the model that we looked at. Yeah,
1149 as configured. Yeah, so with a 512 gig NVMe PCI Express 4 SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, loaded for bear with a nice 400 nits IPS display, a really well appointed machine, well under 3 pounds for $1,100. It's a good value too. That's what we took away.
You know what I think we should probably have Fredrik talk about a bit? Intel has these initiatives like Project Athena and the Evo branding that's on laptops like the Prestige 14. I know us super nerds at a site like HotHardware and lots of our readers know what those things are and what they mean. But why don't you, Fredrik, tell everybody what it means for a machine to have that Evo badge on the palm rest there?
So a couple of things there. So like there's a starting point with, the research, to setting sort of that experience day one. So what we looked at is really, again, moving away from sort of just looking at synthetic benchmarks to looking at real world performance. So like how responsive is the system? How does it feel? Are you getting, like same thing as a lot of people look at cars. It's like, well, here's the rating that you expect, and here's what you're actually getting. And how do we set sort of a promise on that's based on real life experience and real life expectations? So some of the things that we do with the Evo systems, they go way back, research to what people care about, to ecosystem enablement. Like we worked on, like in particular on this system, it's got a very low power panel. So we worked with the panel suppliers and all those to sort of enable that, and then system tuning and validation, and really again leveraging sort of the new silicon and the entire platform, which also includes things of like Wi-Fi 6, fastest connectivity and Thunderbolt. So setting all those things together, we bring that together in the Evo platform, which then guarantees certain levels of performance and responsiveness. So like you open it up, it opens up within less than a second, to the performance levels that you get out of these machines, the experience that you can get. Battery life that's actually measured not through sort of a benchmark tool, but rather measured through sort of here's what the average normal person does in this type of category, and see what are you actually getting there. And that's why you often see us refer to like a 9-hour, delivering on 9 hours of real life, versus saying, a benchmark of 20 hours or 24 hours that very few people ever see unless you just turn on the system and have it, running video playback or something light. So I think this is where you see a lot of other people in the industry, even non-x86 players claim, 20 hours of battery life, but doing something that's super lightweight, versus looking at here's what people do on PCs, and we track that, and we have extensive data on what people do. So we took that learnings, we took the pain points and asks of this go-getter type of category, and sort of optimize the performance around that. And all the systems that ship with the Evo badge have been not just tuned together, but also validated. So when they show up with the Evo badge, like the Prestige, MSI and Intel have tested this together. We've tuned it together, and we validated that it hits that sort of minimum bar and often higher. Like, you look at the 28 watt performance on this is fantastic. So that's really the promise of go away from just pure speeds and feeds to really optimizing the experience and performance around real usage and real pain points, and then giving that end customer that promise that these systems have been tuned for that type of usage. And of course, mobile go-getters today is very different, because it's probably more about going to your sofa and taking your Zoom call from there versus being at a Starbucks or an airport. But hopefully sometime soon we'll get back to those as well.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sir Dirty in the chat spelled DERTY. So I'm assuming he's not a dirty fellow. Intel still crushes 3D benchmarks for gaming and 3D VR. He's making observations about your 3D performance and the gaming performance. And actually, that was one of the biggest takeaways we had on the performance side was the graphics horsepower in a sub 3-pound machine. You're playing things like Gears Tactics at high image quality settings and, hitting 55 frames per second. So really, actually that was medium settings. I should say high was still north of 30. So, but still just a well-appointed machine from a performance standpoint, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like that, gaming, and we'll talk a little bit hopefully later about sort of our new Tiger Lake H35. But gaming is a very broad usage across all types of systems today. So that was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that you have that gaming performance available even on these general purpose, great mobility, great for students, great for work, and those type of things. But at the same time, if you want to play like popular esports titles, you're getting that 60 frames per second in fairly high settings, depending on games, and really can get a very smooth experience. One last thing also, we're very passionate about performance. The other thing that we did is, very different than what you see in other solutions. Even when you unplug it, we're delivering really good levels of performance. So we're not saying play Enthusiast games, on battery, but you can have a really great experience. And we know, untethered on Wi-Fi and playing on battery, there's a lot of people that want to do this. And this is one of the first systems where you really can get a great experience with that. Not sort of your professional level, but still a very good experience for a lot of people.
That's something that we need to roll into our test methodology, and because we've tested that over a couple of different machines. I want to say initially on the prototype of this machine before launch, where we got the prototype vehicle for the Tiger Lake launch, we tested untethered and tethered, plugged in. And so I think that's a metric that all test review sites and folks that are researching this from a performance standpoint, that's important. That's how you use a laptop, is unplugged a lot of the times. I mean, sure, you plug in, and you'll certainly do that for heavier workloads like gaming, but unplugged is important. And so maintain some good performance. It's good to hear that. I want to shift gears real quick. Derek, ask you some questions relative to the configuration of this machine. One of the things that caught me was that it is decked out with lots of ports. And, I tend to be a little finicky when it comes to my laptops in that regard. I don't like the one or two lone Thunderbolt ports and then nothing else, and you have to dongle to the rest. But you have dual Thunderbolt for a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port, micro SD card reader, headphone jack. You squeeze that all in there. It's a cost feature balance. I know. What did that discussion go like? Because there's some trade-offs you sometimes have to make.
Yeah, I think actually we're good in performance. We love extreme performance laptops, and when we walk through all the spec with Intel, and we found that's challenging because we also learned a lot from this Evo project. how to build this high-end machine into Evo platform. As Fredrik mentioned, they need to be very high performance and also long battery life. So this is a big challenge for our R&D people, and how to build in such as you say, high performance, and also meanwhile squeeze in lots of functions into this tiny small laptop. And we also thanks for Intel that we use lots of quite useful tools like DTT, dynamic tuning technology, to fine-tune the performance and fine-tune all the functions, and to make sure we can deliver that the product that meets Evo requirements. And perhaps that Fredrik can explain more on DTT. Yeah, and yeah.
Thank you. We had some. I went on mute there. Sorry about that. Now taking a drink of water. We had some questions in the chat, I know, but what else do we have next on the bullet list, Marco, for this guy?
I think we should probably talk about, squeezing this level of performance. So the 28-watt Tiger Lake, as we mentioned a couple of times already, the numbers look really strong versus competing notebooks of similar form factors, maybe just slightly smaller, but you got a lot of performance out of a 16 millimeter notebook. What kind of challenges are involved there, to ensure it stays cool? Do you design the machine, around the cooling solution? How does the process go to make sure that you can get that kind of performance in 16 millimeters?
Yeah. So as you see, actually, we use the technology and use our knowledge when we develop gaming laptop. And the most important thing on gaming laptop is cooling. So actually, we adopt this technology onto this new business and productivity Prestige Evo for Prestige 14 Evo, this laptop. So our core technology is to deliver high performance, and cooling is our core technology. Yeah. So this is our know-how, and this is our methodology to build up this laptop for business people and for like professional people like you guys. Yeah, and as you just mentioned, that we have lots of I/O ports, and this is how we consider for normal business people, and usually they need to have a laptop and just unplug and go and to do presentation, and even to play some light gamings. And we thought this is a required specs for business people, and probably for people who play games a little bit.
Yeah, one of the things we noticed about the cooling solution was that it has a little bit larger fan, a single fan, but it's a little bit larger fan, so
Yes.
it pushes a little bit more volume.
Yes.
With that larger fan, and then through the heat pipes and the heat sink arrays out the back. We also noticed that cooling solution did a pretty good job at maintaining performance over time. So one of the tests we do is we'll ring out an extended Cinebench run over, say, 10 minutes to check, performance bleed. How far does that, score, that CPU score, taper off when all cores are loaded for an extended period of time. And for a machine sub 3 pounds, 2.8 pounds to be exact, with the performance it offers, it actually only let go of about 6%, which is pretty good. You always get a little bit of thermal saturation bleed off. It's just, part and parcel to a thin and light laptop. But this is significantly better than most, we will say, in that regard. So again, roughly 6%. That's all we saw. That's not a lot of variation when you consider the performance out of the chute with this machine. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's a fantastic machine from that standpoint. And to Derek's earlier point, you have great thermal capabilities with MSI, and this is also where the DTT tool, that's our dynamic tuning technology that we also then deployed together with sort of that to make sure that, one, we're keeping an eye on the thermals, skin temps, and those type of things, but also optimizing the performance. So that you can do that in a smart way at the same time as sort of making sure that you're balancing across those, because that sustained performance level is also key. The other thing, just on performance in general, that's a lot of the time we talk battery life, form factor, and thinness, and those type of things. But I think you're absolutely right on highlighting that. Those are all great, but only if you're getting the right experience. And that's why for us, it's been so important to try to make sure that even though we're driving, thinner and lighter systems, optimizing that performance in those thinner and lighter systems as well as thermals is super key, because otherwise you'll have a lightweight system that you'll be disappointed in what you can get done with.
Yeah, that's an important point. Like, lots of people don't understand. You can take a thin and light notebook, run a benchmark once and get a particular number. But if you run that benchmark 10 times in a row and you keep the machine loaded, each machine is going to throttle to a different level and bleed off X amount of performance. To only lose about 6% of performance at the kind of performance the Prestige 14 offered is really good. Like, machines of similar size, I've seen bleed off, in the neighborhood of 20%, 15%. So, 6% to keep a chip that's that fast, maintaining that level of performance in such a thin form factor, that's not something you get out of every notebook.
I will say on the display front, with a 14-inch display, Derek, any future potential options for maybe higher resolution, maybe 1440p display or 1080p with touch? The display that's in there, certainly a 400 nits IPS display, nice and vibrant, accurate. It's a low glare display, which was great too. But any future thoughts on potentially and maybe a higher end SKU with either a higher resolution or a touch display?
Yeah, talking about touch panel, and I think this is a basic or what business people they want. And actually, I think many Intel people, they use a laptop with touch panel. And actually, the Prestige 14 Evo is only our first milestone. And now we are happy that we just announced another laptop. This is the Summit series, and this is our top line laptop in this lineup, and it goes with touch panel, and this is called Flip. This model is Flip E13, Summit E13 Flip. So as you can tell from the name, it's 2-in-1 laptop, and goes with touch panel, and also comes with a Microsoft pen.
Oh, nice.
And it's very, by the way, it's 16 by 10. Talking about the panel, yeah. And you can see it's very elegant and black, and also the go around the machine
accents. Yeah.
Nice
looking machine.
And also, by the way, this is also going to be our second Evo platform.
Okay. And so what's the processor on board there? Is it an 1185G like the Prestige 14 has? Is it a Core i7 1185
yes,
G7? Okay.
Yeah. It can all the way go up to Core i7.
Okay.
Yeah. So the performance will be 50% gain compared to the previous generation. And talking about Iris Xe, will be 4 times faster than previous generation.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I think you also see that choice, like that's one of the key things that we think is important. And I think you can see the two examples here from Derek, like having that choice, because we know there's a lot of people that want sort of standard clamshell. They don't want to touch the screen, especially geographies. It's not really popular with touchscreens. And then there's other markets like North America as an example, where touch and convertibles are doing fantastic. So I think that's sort of one of the big benefits, and that it's also one of the key things in the Evo program for us. It's not, even though we want to set a very high bar for everyone to reach, having choice and differentiation, we felt is super critical in this category, because again, it's not catering to one individual; it's catering to the entire market.
Sure. Yeah, no, makes sense. Lots of SKUs for lots of different use cases. What else, Marco? We want to talk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Derek.
Fredrik, we also improve us a lot from the first Evo project to the second one, and whenever there is a new technology provided from Intel, and we will try to build into our machine. So I just want to say this machine also comes with Wi-Fi 6E. And as you know, we are using video call a lot recently. And Wi-Fi 6E, I mean, the faster internet connection becomes more crucial nowadays. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, good stuff.
And are you aware of like some of the benefits of Wi-Fi 6E?
Oh yeah, I am. But sure, go right into it. Dedicated backhaul frequencies, all that good stuff. But go for it.
Yeah. So it's the first time, I forget the exact years, but it's the first time in a very, very long time, probably since Wi-Fi became relevant, that we're getting a new band. You get back to that whole thing of like, we're getting the 6 gigahertz band, which the nice thing there is like, so it's 20 years since we got a new band. So it's 6 gigahertz. It will not have the legacy devices that you have in there. I don't know about you, but like I updated my home with like all the smart plugs and spent all the time installing that. They're all on the same band. So like whenever you lose connectivity, or if it's the Ring cameras or other things like that, the current environment with the congestion, even with like our killer Wi-Fi software that prioritize workloads, getting to a free and clear band like 6 gigahertz, is a super big leap. Because again, if you lose performance or video because of the system or the Wi-Fi, it all feels like performance to the end user. So 6E, rolling out, a lot of it together with sort of our next, Tiger Lake H35 that we announced at CES, as well as with the 11th gen systems already shipping, like Derek showed. So like we're very passionate about that. You'll see sort of the infrastructure will gradually be rolling out in the operating system, and be fully ready. We hope by end of year you'll have the full capability, but even a lot earlier than probably somewhere in the first half you'll start seeing it in the Insider edition being turned on, so that people can really start experiencing this. And I know in my home, that's one of the key upgrades. I'm waiting for the mesh routers to come out with 6E, and as soon as that's ready, I'm upgrading to a different system than what Derek showed you, still an MSI, but the new Stealth 15 with our new H35. It's ready here. I'm not shipping it back. It's sort of I'm getting my IT image loaded on it as soon as it's ready.
There you go.
I also have another companion compared to Fredrik has. This also still 15M, but goes with white color.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very
so actually
clean.
we have 2 edition, and talking about the CPU configuration, as we mentioned, we love extreme performance, so we focus only on the highest special edition that can go up to 5 gigahertz. Yeah.
Nice.
And
nice.
the reason we choose this special edition is based on our testing result, we found the frequency plays more important role when gaming. So say the higher frequency, the higher FPS, the better gaming experience people can get. So that's the reason we choose the highest spec, the special edition.
So yeah, so what Derek's talking about, in case some people that are watching, the viewers that are watching aren't familiar, Tiger Lake H35 Special Edition, Core i7. It's a 30. Is it? Yeah, it's a Core i7, right, Derek? Fredrik, excuse me. Yeah, so just a 35 watt TDP power envelope, TDP up configuration of Tiger Lake. So we should expect significant in performance gains versus the 28 watt that we're seeing, for example, in the Prestige 14. Yeah, just maybe Fredrik, you could help us understand Tiger Lake H35 and the special edition potential that's coming. It's almost here. We're within. Is it Q1 this year? Or can you say?
Yeah, no, that one. I think we're within probably very few weeks until you start seeing those out. We expect to share more performance information here very shortly on the total system performance, because we're, of course, Derek and I have another partner with Ecosystem on the graphics side, so we're fine tuning together with them, and we'll get that data out there soon. But these systems are in production, shipping, so they're going to be on sale very soon. But if you talk about Tiger Lake, our Tiger Lake H for ultra portable gaming, sort of it's if you think about like the progression and the choice points, and again going back to that, one of the great things about our ecosystem is the choice to optimize for what you want. So if you think about the Prestige 14, and you think of like a traditional gaming laptop from MSI, like the GS series, that sort of thin and light 15-inch system. This is sort of filling out the gap in between, like, and what we had talked, and we talked to Derek and the rest of the MSI team for a long time about. There's a lot of gamers out there that they want something thinner or lighter because again it's the student. They don't want to carry a bigger notebook with them, or they maybe they're using it for work and they want to come across with sort of a little bit more cleaner image from that standpoint. But we were missing a large portion of gamers, enthusiast gamers, that didn't feel like there was an offering for them. So we partnered with MSI and others on enabling that category, and that's really again, it's taking like a prestige type of class system and adding even more performance. So what we did here is it runs at 35 watts. So it has the fastest single-threaded performance of any laptop we've ever tested. And frankly, if we look at some of the early information out there competitively, it's outperforming competitive systems at significantly higher TDP levels on single-threaded. Which again, single-threaded. Why we focus so much on that is because that's the highest correlation to gameplay and frames per second. We also use the Gen 4 pipeline that you talked about for fast storage. This time we're using it for connection to that latest, new generation of NVIDIA's GeForce graphics. So the RTX 30 series, having that pipeline between the two, giving that most modern architecture and very efficient pipeline. So 35 watt, scaling it up to 5 gigahertz, super efficient connection to the GPU is enabling this category of like. But you look at this system, it's like this. Oh, sorry, my camera is catching the blur. But a 16 millimeter thin stealth system from MSI that, again, enthusiast level gameplay, and we can tell you that you'll be able to play 4K gaming, which most people think that's probably only consoles. But enthusiast desktops for sure, and as well as enthusiast notebooks. But even now, a 16 millimeter thin notebook, and we're having it play 4K gameplay or competitive level of 1080p. At very, very impressive rates. So we're super excited about it. I don't know if when I hand over to Derek to tell you a little bit more about the Stealth 15. I can keep on going for a long time on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, on top of what Fredrik mentioned, I have some few points to mention that, as Fredrik mentioned, that this new CPU comes with PCI Gen 4 and connected to 3060, and that can actually release the full power of GPU performance compared to the competition, compared to the other combination after our own testing. And also that this one and also this combination CPU plus GPU that also comes with a new technology called resizable bar, which means CPU can access the GPU frame buffer. So actually, both CPU and the GPU can have optimized performance. Yeah.
Sure. It looks like, Derek, unfortunately, it looks like we may have lost your video feed all the way from Taiwan. Maybe we can have Chris work with you to get that back on. I'm not sure what happened. We had your audio. It was good to have your audio there. Thank you.
Okay.
But your video dropped. Your camera dropped for some reason. We'll figure that one out and try and work the gremlins out.
But in Taiwan.
That's the problem. The camera decided to go back to bed. But it's interesting. You've worked in resizable bar, and it sounds like Fredrik, from what you talked about, you're also in development with direct storage. Although that's something that needs to be built into next generation game engines. Certainly available on consoles now, but soon coming to PCs near you, right?
Absolutely. So we're collaborating with the ecosystem, and like on the resizable bar as an example. So we worked with MSI NVIDIA to sort of develop a standard solution to do that, and I think that's normally the type of approach that we'll take, is try to do something where we can showcase the benefit to gamers, and collaborate closely, and then try to develop a standard that really makes sure that we can optimize that together. But yeah, fast storage, and I think that's one of the things that we shared about the upcoming Tiger Lake H or 11th Gen H series. The rest of the family that's going into production in Q1, per the question that you had earlier. So we're very, very close on it. That has, not just the by 4 Gen 4 that we have in Tiger Lake H35, it's got by 20. And the nice thing when you get by 20 is not only do you have the biggest pipeline to the discrete graphics, possible in a notebook, you also have enough space to frankly do, single or RAID SSDs connected to the CPU. And I think that's where the benefits that you talked about before, like, super fast storage, directly to the CPU, and when the direct storage solutions come out and are ready, having that fastest and most responsive storage where you're getting, close to 2x read speeds, 1.5 times write speeds, we think is going to be super critical to sort of low latency and responsive gaming. So we're very excited about what we started with 11th Gen, and then you see this H35 for enthusiasts in the ultra portable segment, and then shortly after that coming out the rest of the H series family to sort of fill out that traditional gaming category. So lots of things going on right now.
Sure. So Tiger Lake H35 coupled with NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 series graphics, presumably, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you've seen some of those systems have,
Yep.
like the Stealth, have been announced, and those we expect to see in market very, very soon.
Nice. And in that form factor that you were talking, 16 millimeter, I think you said.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to get the video here. Like maybe if I put it close, my blur filter, unfortunately, I should turn it off. But yeah, 16 millimeters thin, and you can see really, really small and amazingly light system. Like that's, with the cooling systems on a lot of gaming notebooks, having something that's really light as well is super impressive. And I think this is in again, Thunderbolt, Wi-Fi 6E ready. We have the killer solution in there as well. So lots of sort of system innovations going into this platform as well. So very finely tuned. We'll have these systems out for testing and performance data shortly, but that's unfortunately the only thing we can tell you right now is we know our single-threaded and our CPU performance data. The rest you'll have to wait for, unfortunately, a couple of weeks until our partner releases their embargo.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So, like, as a nerd, like, I love when you talk about H35. I don't think people realize like the kind of responsiveness that a system with one of those chips could have with that super high clock single thread and a high IPC performance with GPU and high performance SSD directly attached to the CPU over PCIe Gen 4. You'll end up with just some of the most responsive SSDs, top graphics performance, the killer single thread performance. What that does to an experience, like if you were to take a notebook from just 3-4 years ago, even a decent notebook, and switch to something newer with specs like that, it should be, a night and day difference. Like such a big deal. And just quickly, we had a question from Craig B a few minutes back asking, do any of the new systems support HDMI 2.1? Both Iris Xe and the RTX 30 series support HDMI 2.1. So I believe it's going to be up to the OEM to make sure that it's implemented properly. But yeah, that we should see HDMI 2.1 in future notebooks. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. Poor Derek. Unfortunately, are you still with us audio wise, Derek?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, your video feed has cut out. Anything else in the chat, Marco?
Just Francois showing off about his plane and a couple buddies messing with him, trying to get trying to get him to upload some footage. I don't think we missed anything else. A couple of guys mentioned how it'd be cool to have undervolting back in notebooks. I don't think it's coming anytime soon, but yeah, it would be fun to have a notebook we could tweak like a desktop. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You might see a little of that in some of the higher end gaming solutions, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would say that I think more people probably look forward to this test driving this than I saw the videos from Francois' plane. I'm not sure I want to be on that ride.
I don't want to be in a car with Francois, let alone a plane.
Right. Exactly.
I made the mistake of getting in that GTR once in Vegas. That was craziness.
That's a fast car. That's a fast car. Yeah, no, absolutely. So excellent stuff. Okay, so anything else we can expect in the near future before we let you guys go? Any teases you want to make? Any, sort of
8-core Tiger Lake.
Oh yeah. Oh, what about that little guy?
Yeah, so that one.
Thanks,
So
Marco.
you'll see that come out. So like some of the great benefits there, it's like you'll see 5 gigahertz performance across multiple cores. Our new 10 nanometer SuperFin technology. So really building on what we had in Tiger Lake H. We have the Gen 4 PCIe 4 pipeline by 20 from the CPU. So again, doing not choice between CPU and GPU, but doing both. And then broader scaling of Wi-Fi 6E with that, as well as a very, very big wave of systems. So like we're already we're partnering of course closely with MSI as well as the rest of the ecosystem. So you see a large wave of those systems coming out here very soon, not as soon as the H35 that are in production and should already be heading towards stores here shortly, but we'll be into silicon production in Q1 with them, and then systems following shortly after that. That's so again, lots of exciting new stuff coming during the first half of the year. And again, looking at sort of the PC category where PCs have become an essential device, frankly, both for school, home, as well as entertainment. So we're very excited about having all this new momentum. And then you look at partnership technologies like enabling that resizable bar. So we're leaning in together with the rest of the ecosystem on just doing more things together to sort of lift that total experience. So I think people will be amazed, and we can't wait to get some of these systems out to you for real life testing. So you'll should be getting this for the follow up here very shortly.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
And we are also very excited to co-work with Intel, and excited to see the new platform coming up. Yeah,
Absolutely.
We are ready for that.
Well, we are too. I mean, that 8-core sounds great. It's great, by the way, Fredrik, Derek, to have your platforms now core parity with AMD on the high end. Having that 8-core mobile chip, which we haven't had before. It's great to see that. I'm sure it's going to be powerful. If you look at the kind of performance that you're getting out of quad-core Tiger Lake, 8-core is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And actually, it looks like we did have a question about does Iris Xe or Xe graphics in general support variable refresh rate, so adaptive refresh panels, and the answer is yes, it does. So that's in there. What else, Marco? Are we pretty much done with the rundown?
Yeah, just actually 2 quick things. The variable refresh support, it's the GPU supports it, but it's going to be up to the OEM to implement it. So not every notebook's going to have that. But just something I wanted to get some clarity from Fredrik. The upcoming 8-core, the H45, that's not just simply a bigger chip. There's a tweaked manufacturing process coming with that as well, correct?
No, they are, they're the Tiger Lake H, process that we're on and stepping, they'll be the same for our H45.
Okay.
It is a drastically different chip. So it's not, it's completely different IO. Like if you look at like our H series, and in this case, our H45 is very, very similar more to like what you normally see in a desktop. Like it is that sort of, what we had with Comet Lake H, the sort of, big IO footprint. It supports up to like 4 SSDs, Thunderbolt. We have again, you look at the PCIe Gen bandwidth from the CPU by 20. You also look at like I think it's roughly, I forget if it's 20 or 24 right now off the chipset. So like the stuff that you can hang off this platform is much more equivalent to a desktop, and that's why you get back to like bandwidth from that 5x versus competition from the CPU, which is the most fastest and responsive. And then, the other one is just unmatched. While Tiger Lake H35 is very much designed as, again, into that ultra portable category where we're not putting in additional stuff that you really like. You can't, even if Derek wanted to, he can't fit 4 SSDs into this type of system. So like having having the CPU support for SSDs when you don't really need it. And again, focusing on fast quad core power in this envelope, we believe is much smarter than doing something where you spread out the performance across more cores and not getting the same benefit. That's sort of the choice points that we do. So it is drastically different, architecture or layout. It's also a 2-chip solution versus a 1-chip solution on H35. So it really optimized around getting that enthusiast performance in those right type of categories.
Nice. Good stuff. Really good stuff. I think that about wraps it, right?
Yeah. Any points that we didn't cover you guys want to make sure you get across to the audience?
I think now is a great time to be a gamer. That's probably the key thing. And and it's there's no time like now to go out and get these step function improvements in performance that you're going to see here during the next 6 months, as well as the choice that you see out there in the ecosystem. And I think this is also where you get back to that whole thing of you look at some games, I know they've been somewhat controversial, but you look at some of the most popular games like Cyberpunk. You can play that on certain PC architectures, not others. And if you want to get that sort of best enthusiast level gameplay, we believe the PC continues to be that sort of solid port of choice. And we've been sort of super happy about seeing how the market has grown the last year, and we expect that momentum to very much continue in the next year. And with Derek and team and at MSI, we're super excited about continuing that deep collaboration there. So you should expect to see more stuff coming from us. I don't know, Derek, anything I missed?
Yeah. And just to remind you guys that the embargo is 26th. And people, if you like to game and if you like to have fun at home during this COVID-19, please be ready and save some money to buy our laptops in 2 weeks.
Stop by Hot Hardware on the 26th if you want to see what the numbers look like.
There you go. Save some money. And actually, again, I would point out, I don't know, it looks like my feed's acting up now too. I've got the ghost in the machine, but yeah, no, Skype's having fun. But no, I would agree. The other thing that's impressing me, in addition to the gaming capabilities and the gaming machines these days, is the fact that business class or mainstream notebooks, sub 3-pound machines like the Prestige 14 Evo, can offer such a great performance now, and you can do so many more things with them than you could in the past. So really becoming much more capable in this a thinner, lighter footprint. It's good stuff. Keep it coming. Love to have it.
Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. And as always, you can find us on the web at HotHardware.com, Twitter.com/HotHardware, YouTube.com/HotHardware, vids where you should hit thumbs up and subscribe. Fredrik Hamberger and Derek Chen, Fredrik from Intel and Derek from MSI. Thanks so much for joining us, fellas.